A very good evening, Zimbabwe and the world, and welcome to Africa and Beyond a television network. We continue to look at what's happening in the nation of Zimbabwe as well as the SADC region. So, according to Sophie Mukwena, she says Zimbabwe, as the chair of SADC, who hosted the SADC Extraordinary Summit on Thursday. The summit will discuss peace and security, particularly the recent developments in the DRC. So, the situation is not right, is not good in DRC, that is Eastern DRC, particularly the city of Goma has been captured by the M23 fighters, oftenly referred to as the M23 rebels. So it's very interesting to note that earlier before the capture, the South African National Defence Forces reported that they had repelled the M23 fighters, but the next day it was all different. So it's very important to note that the crisis or the tensions in the DRC, they don't need to be addressed militarily, they need dialogue. We have seen the Eastern African leaders trying by all means possible to talk sense into the president of the DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, but he refused to listen to these results and urged him to use or to maximize dialogue. But he said that he does not dialogue with terrorists. That was his response. So you can actually see that this government has failed to bring normalcy, has failed to bring order and peace. And this has led to the people in that region to support the struggles which are being launched by the M23 fighters. And also, what is very important is to know that they have accused Rwanda and Uganda of supporting these fighters, and United Nations, they have issued a statement, and also they are conducting an emergency meeting to see how best they can intervene in the Eastern DRC. And also SADC, we are going to watch and see the resolutions of SADC. Remember, Zimbabwe President Mnangagwa issued a warning to the M2, and we want to see how everything is going to unfold. We want to see the action plan which they are going to deploy and also employ. Former President Thabo Mbeki at a certain point in time criticized the approach of military warfare and said that it was better for them to have dialogue. And also, some of the allies of President Mnangagwa, including Lieutenant Nyarare, have said that it's better to have dialogue than to have black men to black men warfare. And we do not know if the SADC leadership will take heed of that advice and bring everybody on board so that they talk out and they agree on what is very important. The concerns which are being raised by the people in the Eastern DRC are that they are mainly Rwandese, pre-colonial era. They were on the same side with Rwanda. And on the demarcation or on the new demarcations, they were then put across a DRC. So they are treated as if they are foreigners on their own land or in their own country. That is the major concern. And they've accused the government of the DRC for failure to provide them with essentials, particularly national resources. So they are neglected, they are left behind in terms of critical issues. And we have almost a similar problem right here in the nation of Zimbabwe with the Matebele people, where they are often neglected by the government led by ZANU-PF. So Prince of Lotito says his dad was a commander in the DRC and participated by Zimbabwe, and he says that they lost equipment and men largely because the terrain and tropical conditions made it difficult for foreign soldiers. And South Africa need to be very careful, and they must not be dragged into this conflict. South Africa, they have lost more than 10 soldiers so far. Recently, they lost 9, and in the past they lost another batch, and several have been injured and have been decommissioned. So it's very interesting that this is what is happening, and we will be waiting to see how SADC is going to deal with this war issue. Will SADC deploy its military apparatus? Will it work? They failed to defend Mozambique, and Rwanda had to go and intervene there. And the major question is, will they be able to do so? So in 1998, Zimbabwe went to DRC. They participated in the DRC war. The reason why Zimbabwe managed to outmaneuver the rebels then was because they had an intact military air force. Particularly, they had an intact air force, but right now the Zimbabwean air force has been destroyed. Is no longer effective as before, which means it's very difficult for them to actually render effective assistance. So maybe they will provide ground forces, and other countries with better equipment in terms of air force will provide the air force. But will countries like Rwanda, like Zambia, South Africa, Botswana, who have functional air forces, will they be willing to use their air forces in the DRC? That is something that is very important, and it's mostly unlikely that Zambia will deploy its own military or its own air force there, because I believe that Zambia's position is that there must be dialogue, which Tshisekedi has refused effect. So look at the position of Tshisekedi, look at the position of Emerson, look at the position of Chapo. These people have taken the same position of no dialogue, and that is so bad because it plunges the countries into further chaos. And before we conclude, remember that this summit is going to happen in Harare, but as of yet, there is no communication whatsoever from the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe so far to talk about this. We do not know the reasons why they are keeping quiet or they are not addressing this issue, because today is Tuesday, and on Thursday we will see heads of state coming to Zimbabwe, which means it's very close, and there was need for necessary preparations and for the people to know what is really happening and what is really transpiring. So we will be seeing Emerson back to action very soon, and it's very interesting at this point in time. So thank you very much everyone for coming. We will continue to watch and see the resolutions which are going to be made by the SADC leaders.